Within 45 days, we got to about 2 million users. Within 5 months, we broke $50 million ARR. And within 9 months, toward the end of 25, we broke $100 million ARR. And up until that moment, we spent zero advertisement dollar. Because of that growth, we kept on building, kept on shipping. We were on a streak to release new AI agent every week or every 2 weeks.
Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, wherever you are. Thank you very much for joining to another episode of the Boardroom Club. My name is Yossi Garmazi, and we're joined here also by a good friend of mine, Amado Vargas. Amado.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us today.
So today we are fortunate enough to interview none other than Wen Sang, co-founder and CEO of Genspark, a company that revolutionizing how people research, create, and get work done using autonomous AI agents. So Wen, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Yossi and Amado, for the amazing opportunity. Super excited to be here.
The pleasure is all ours. So when we want to start with a quick question about your background before we go on into all the amazing things that you are doing at Genspark, because you started at MIT PhD working on car engines. Do you still see yourself using mechanical engineering background when you do all your things at Genspark?
Love the question, Yossi. So short answer is no on the knowledge part, but yes on all the critical thinking part. So essentially, through my engineering training, it's less so about how the car engine works that influence how I think about things today, but more how to break down problems and how to solve problems. So yeah, it definitely helped. Those were my forming years.
Definitely work out for you. And a quick follow-up about it is that you spent nearly a decade digitizing the analog parking industry. But what was the most unlearnable lesson from that experience that essentially gave you a competitive edge entering the crowded AI space that we've seen today?
Right after MIT, I started my first company. That was an enterprise SaaS company in the parking industry. We sold software to municipalities, commercial real estate owners, airports, hotels, universities, you name it. And out of that, I did door-to-door sales to so many different people, right? Learned so much about the world is truly revolving around human beings, nothing else. The most important thing is human beings' needs, human beings' motivation. And when it comes to building a business, the most important thing is to pick the right problem around the human being's needs to solve, not so much as just solve everything right put in front of us. Because trained as an engineer, I have this tendency to jump in right away to solve everything right in front of me. But a lot of times we got to understand the why behind the what. We got to make better decisions on picking the right problem than solving everything right. So that I would say was my biggest learning. In coming to this new journey with Genspark, that is exactly what I'm applying in terms of in the past. So the vision of Genspark is that in the past, we human beings, we were the workforce, we were the production engine. We basically have to do a lot of the busy work, crafting a document word by word, building a presentation pixel by pixel, constructing a financial model cell by cell. We had to do those things to get the real work done. But now, with this wave of AI breakthroughs, with capable platforms like Genspark AI Workspace, we get liberated from the busy work. We no longer have to spend 80% of our time copying and pasting the same business context from a meeting note to email to a Slack message. We get to command our AI super agents to get onto all of these work, and so that we could think strategically, we could be creative, we could focus on the business objectives and the human needs, and let AI handle the grunt work. This is all kind of a full circle back to human beings, focused on human beings, and make all of our lives a lot easier is what we're trying to do here.
It's essentially taking us to the next level. And okay, so you chose the right problem, right? And something interesting about your journey at Genspark, and it's good to know for every entrepreneur out there in the audience, is when is the right time to pivot, right? And in late 2025, you made a bold decision to shut down your AI search product with over 5 million users to focus entirely on agentic workflows. But what was the specific data point or maybe customer conversation that made this a must do rather than, okay, let's do it in a few months or a year?
So first off, a little bit about the team, I guess. We have 6 co-founders on the team. I'm the least technical guy. I don't code. So all my other co-founders, they have world-class technical chops. So for example, my co-founder Eric, also our CEO, he was a long-term Microsoft veteran. He was one of the founding members of Bing Search. Worked with Satya and Nadella directly when they were building Bing Search, and he knew like intrinsically how the internet works, how search works. So goes with my other co-founder Casey, our CTO. He was at Google for a long time and built early search ranking technologies like Pandas and so on, making impacts of tens of billions of dollars today for Google every year, every day. I don't know. Ray, our other co-founder who was at Google for about 14 years. So these three folks, they actually built a company from ground up to $5.5 billion worth right before Genspark, leveraging the last generation deep learning technologies. And my other co-founder, Justin, who was also early at Google, that's where they all met. He then went to Facebook when they were about shy of 200 people and scaled Facebook applications like Facebook Messenger from 0 to billions of users. Also, he was a co-founder of PyTorch, which is a very important machine learning framework in today's world. So goes one with my other co-founder, Lendroy, who was at also Google for about 10 years or 12 years, and then came out and built departments at YouTube, Pinterest, later on TikTok. So as you can see, all of these folks, they know how the internet works, how search works, how information flows among the different nodes in the web and so on. So when ChatGPT just came out, it was very intuitive for this team to think, you know what? We can totally see that all the information is going to be served to human beings, personalized, customized. It's no longer the case that you put in one keyword and then everybody sees the same list of 10 results and then you browse through and then try sifting through the information and figure out what is useful to you. Like that's no longer the paradigm. The new world looks like something like, everybody just asks a question and then you get very specific answers for yourself in that moment. Based off that kind of understanding of where the world is going, we built our first product that was a search, like basically a new generation of search. We were building customized knowledge for you, dedicated web page would generate multimodal information. The business was good. We grew to about 5 million global users fairly quickly in a few months, but very quickly we came to the revelation that that's just not enough. Why? Because that's exactly how everybody's going to serve information, right? The future of search is no longer about search. So there's not enough value because information is going to be abundant. Yeah, that's just going to be so common that you can't make a difference. So then we ask the question, okay, why do people need information? Well, curiosity aside, people need information to get the work done, right? So then we were like, okay, can we push the AI steps further to actually get the work done for people already? That was the start point of us exploring into this new world of, okay, how can we take this AI capable levels up and really get a lot more useful, valuable things for our users, for our customers? So it just so happened that beginning of 25, I think the reasoning capability of all of these LLMs all of a sudden became really good, right? Like SONET 3.7 came out, I think O1 or O3 came out. It's like we no longer we're in the world of just all hallucinations, and the AI models couldn't think, couldn't be consistent, couldn't follow on a plan to execute, couldn't even plan things out. So that changed, right? So we capitalized on that technology improvement opportunity and basically took advantage of all the latest greatest models and built out our first version Genspark super agent at the time. That's our AI workspace 1.0. And initially we released AI slides, AI sheets, AI docs, AI call for me, and so on. So a few agents that we basically built for ourselves, right? Or like, what are we going to build? Well, we got to build for, the people, the human beings who we know intrinsically, which is people just like us, the 1 billion plus global knowledge workers. So we released that product. And yeah, I mean, within 45 days, we got to about 2 million users. Within 5 months, we broke $50 million ARR. And within 9 months, toward the end of 25, we broke $100 million ARR. And up until that moment, we spent zero advertisement dollar. So yeah, and because of that growth, we kept on building, kept on shipping. We were on a streak to release new AI agent every week or every 2 weeks.
That's incredible. And you mentioned all the building side of AI. And essentially, if you're looking now at the space, it's interesting because you mentioned that specifically there is no moat in AI except speed and trust. But in a
Uh-huh.
world where companies like Anthropic or OpenAI can ship overnight features very quickly, right? How are
Yeah.
you embedding trust into Genspark Close so enterprise feels at the end of the day safe letting you operate?
There are quite several things to that, Yossi, actually. One, the table stakes. We'll talk about the compliance security stuff, but the table stakes is, does your product work, right? Like, we human beings, we're actually pretty smart. It's pretty easy for us to tell. Am I burning the tokens, wasting my time teaching the AI but not getting what I need? Or one prompt. Well, I'm ready to go. This is good enough for me to just take it on and then just move forward with my work. So the output quality is the number one thing when it comes to how people evaluate or assess the AI capabilities and tools. So for us, we understand the large language models. These are like brains. They pursue pure intelligence, right? The models are getting smarter and smarter, and they're getting better and better. But by having intelligence only is not going to be enough for people to get reliable, accurate, ready to go real world output. Like in this interview, Jensen Huang told the journalist, I've never hired anyone simply because their IQ is high. Right? So it's the same thing. Like you can't just say, hey, I'm good with this model because it's smart. As a knowledge worker, for example, myself, I never solved the one partial differential equation in the last 10 years. I wrote a lot of emails. I built a lot of sales proposals. I did a lot of ROI analysis. All of those things require a lot more than just intelligence. Intelligence is a raw horsepower. It's a start point. That's the engine. What we're building at Genspark, it's a car. So you can drive it and get to places. It's not just a powerful engine. We build technologies to bridge the gap there, right? Around the arms and legs of today, we sit on top of 70 plus state of the art models. We build a model orchestration layer, which we released the world's first mixture of agents tech architecture to basically take on the strength of each of these different models and then pick the perfect model for the right task at the right time to complete full tasks. For one example, if you were building a slide deck with Genspark, it's not like just, okay, Nano Banana, generate images and so on. Not like that at all. Or like GPT model, just tell the stories with text. Not at all. So our super agent would pick the right model to make a plan, build a plan first. Okay, do research. Okay, then find elements or assets, and then initiate presentation building. And then all of these planning is probably done by a reasoning model. And then when it comes to building the slide pages, it could be, the super agent could be commanding on a anthropic model to write code in HTML to render the slides. And when it comes to building images, it could be calling on Google models because they're good at images and videos. And when it comes to visualizing the data, it could be calling on an open weight model to write Python code in Juniper Notebook. After the data is visualized, you then stick the chart back to the slides instead of like you just generate an image. That is not going to be usable, right? So all of these things are also done through our second layer. We built 150 plus in-house tools. We understand those are the arms and legs for the brains. They actually bridge the gap between the intelligence and real world work. On top of all of that, we also pay to get access to premium data sets like PitchBook, Crunchbase, S&P, and we're in conversations with Wall Street Journal, Bloomberg to make sure that for 1 billion plus global knowledge workers, your results are factual, cross-checked with databases. You can't just believe what people say on Reddit, right? Fast web search. That's not enough. So all of these things package up as a full package to deliver reliable, useful, ready to go work output. I was on the phone with the CFO of this public traded real estate company. His name is Carlos. He's based in Dallas. And he said, look, Wen, I've tried 20 tools on the market trying to find something for my team. You guys are the only one that could give me results with one prompt that is boardroom ready. That is important. If you can't do that, how would enterprise clients feel like they could rely on you, right? That is table stake. That's just the most basic. On top of that, of course, we understand like, for any digital solutions within corporations, enterprises, you got to get compliant with all of these frameworks. That's when we first heard from a lot of the corporations started reaching out to us last summer. We initially launched it as an individual product for individuals, right? It was just you can swipe the card and you can sign up. And now all of a sudden, summertime. PE firms in Japan, Mass from London, oil gas companies from Bogota, Colombia, government agencies from Dubai, UAE, consumer electronics companies from South Korea, consulting firms in Chicago, tax auditing firms in Atlanta. They all reached out. They were like, hey, our employees use your solution. They really love it. They asked us to procure it for the company. And we're like, you can just swipe the card. They were like, no. We need centralized billing. We need SSO. We need SOC 2 Type 2. That's when we got into the motion to build all of these things out. So by December, we were ISO 2701 certified. By January, we were SOC 2 Type 2 certified. And now we're just working through our roadmap on GDPR, ISO 4201, as well as HIPAA and FedRAMP. These are on the roadmap, right? Those are all also table stakes, I'd say. Beyond all of that, when it comes to security stuff, the AI is a new thing. It's new to many people, and people are just figuring things out while everybody's building an airplane while they're flying one. So we're essentially working with great partners, frontier labs like OpenAI, Anthropic, Google DeepMind, the Gemini team, as well as many other partners like Fireworks, Together, Fel, all of these folks to figure out what are the best practices. So, for example, one thing we follow is zero training. So whenever we sign contracts with Frontier Labs, we make sure that we all agree on that they're not going to train their LLMs with our client's data. That's a commitment. So a lot of these things we're just developing as we go. But yeah, we totally understand the importance of safety, security, and even when it comes to integrations, right? We built integrations with all the Microsoft suites, Google suites, Slack, Notion, Salesforce, both on API level, and we support up to, I think, more than 650 MCP servers now. That all of these controls need to be put in place so that IT all of their policies in place. And to that, we signed a strategic partnership with Microsoft since last November to basically leverage the Azure platform, and we're the global first and only global launching partner for their Agent 365 platform, right? Initially highlighted together with ServiceNow and Workday, and now we're being highlighted as the first global launch partner for that. So all of these things put us in a place to serve the Fortune 2000s.
And you mentioned Fireworks. We're actually going to host one of the co-founder, Benny, in a
Amazing.
couple of weeks. Yeah, so it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting to hear their
Yeah.
side of the
We do
story.
fine-tuning work together, post-training, fine-tuning, RL work together on their platform, and they being an amazing partner. So yeah, awesome company.
Yeah, Fireworks is all about fine-tuning indeed. And with Genspark Claw acting is sort of like an AI employee at the end that execute
Yes.
everything on top of apps like Salesforce, Slack, and Gmail. Do you think, and this is a general question, that we might getting closer to the end of dashboards, or we will see another iteration out there in the market?
What we're seeing is when ChatGPT just first came out back in 22, like when you ask what is an AI tool, like everybody's impression is like you go to a website and there's a chat box and then that's it, right? That's the form factor of AI. But now with Claude coming out, it's instantly just so clear to everybody that, hey, it's no longer the case that human beings go to AI. That's the only way for you to leverage the AI. AI would follow you everywhere you are, right? WhatsApp, Telegram, Microsoft Teams. You just set up your claw, and the claw will be everywhere with you, for you, with a memory of you and your preference, your workflows, your cron jobs, and it'll just work for you 24/7, right? That is the change of how human beings are taking advantage of AI. Now, because of that, we released Genspark Claw. This was early March, and the demand has been through the roof. But also, what we're seeing is with open source frameworks out there, it's not easy for people like a normal person who's not a hobbyist to buy a Mac Mini, set up all the Node.js scripts, let it run, and then build all the integrations and then figure out the API keys and so on. That's a lot of work. And to maintain, you have to have an IT team to do it all, right? That's why we basically built everything on Microsoft Azure using their virtual machine capabilities, dedicated machine for you, and it still does everything that you would anticipate a Claw would do for you, but more, right? Like not only you could just let your Claw send messages, you could leverage all the Genspark super agent capabilities within WhatsApp, for example. Last week, we are spoiled here at Genspark that company offers work meals, lunch and dinner. I love that part, but I really, just always didn't like the part I had to spend an hour or an hour and a half. I'm a foodie, so I like to pick my food very carefully. Always we're on this website, WeBox or whatever. I had to curate my own meals. Like it's fun, but it's also like I wanted to spend time on other things. And then it started last Sunday. I'm like, you know what, Claude, you're taking over. I want 50% of protein, 25% of fibers, 25% of carbs, make it healthy, but use up all my budget. If there's still leftover budget, get me snacks, get me kombucha. That was my command. And then, lo and behold, I didn't touch that food ordering website at all last week. And then the whole week was amazing. Okay. The Claw looked at my ordering history and figured out I like Mexican food, Japanese food, Chinese food, and it did a fabulous job. I got my kombucha. I got amazing snacks that I never expected. I was just we're living in the future now. Like, why should we spend time on those busy work? Why shouldn't we just get freed up from all of these things and then just being able to focus on the big stuff, the strategic stuff, right? I'd say we're just getting started here.
That's brilliant. And now, of course, you reach $36 million ARR in 45 days and 200 million ARR in 11 months.
Yeah, we broke 100 in 9 months. So launched in April, toward the end of 2025, we broke 100. And then in January, February this year, in 2 months, we had added another $100 million ARR. So we broke 200 like in 11 months, not even a whole year yet.
That's just exceptional right there. But in such a fast moving landscape, how do you decide what you actually want to build or maybe to just maintain it? Sort of like, how do you keep being innovative while still scaling the game?
Absolutely, Yossi. So the beautiful thing about this AI era is the scaling of the business does not go hand in hand or linearly with the scaling of headcounts. So at Genspark, we are a AI native company. What I mean by that is in the beginning, it was like 60, 70, 80%. Now it's near 100% of the code is written by AI. So human beings are so each one or one or two engineers are overseeing one full product. And the speed we move as a company is at the speed of an individual. There are no like front end teams, back end teams, design teams, DevOps teams, and then you got to talk, and then the organization speed get boxed down to like the lowest, right? But for us, like we built the scalable infra, 3 layers of tech, as I mentioned earlier, and each engineer could just run with their full product and then just go with it. And really what they do is not like, okay, let's write code line by line. No one does that anymore, right? But they really direct the AI to execute on the things that we wanted to. That's how we get to release a new product every 1 to 2 weeks. Our view is you cannot stop innovating. The moment you stop, that's game over. So we see the disruptors are getting disrupted all the time. And the only way to win is to keep winning, and the only way to keep winning is to keep innovating. That's the only way. No time to die.
No, 100%. And I do have one last question before I pass the mic to Amado. So we spoke about product-led growth, which was what essentially Genspark is all about, right? But you also ran a Superbowl ad, reportedly built using Genspark in just 10 days, which is, again, brilliant. But what did the spike in traffic teach you about the difference between product-led growth and a brand-led growth in this AI era?
100%, Izzy. So as I mentioned earlier, before we broke $100 million of ARR, we intentionally stayed disciplined and didn't want to spend any advertisement dollar to make sure the signal is real. It's from the product. We have built something that is absolutely useful, valuable, and making people more money. I interviewed a lot of our power users, and I asked them, why do you keep paying for Genspark? They were like, whoa, I pay $25. I make thousands or tens of thousands of dollars out of one project. That's exactly why. So when you build something like that, of course, you know that it's real, right? Like, but before $100 million ARR, we wanted to make sure we're truly covering the value part with every bit of it, and then for every user on our platform. After that, we basically got to a point we believe that we have built something that is scaling ready, and it's time to put fuel on the fire. So the Super Bowl commercial was one of the efforts there. Basically, by that time, actually, to a certain extent, we came to a point where it feels like already that we built something amazing, but the amount of people who can benefit from the product is way more than people who know that we exist, right? So that is when we decided, you know what, we got to get our names out, we got to get the words out. So not only we did Super Bowl, today, if you're in New York, if you're in Manhattan, you cannot not see Genspark.
I saw it in the subway a couple of days ago.
Yes. So if you're in a subway vehicle, we took over, I think, 460 stations or lines of the vehicles, 3,000 vehicles or whatnot. You basically you see Genspark everywhere. So why? Because That's the capital city of knowledge work, right? 10 million plus people there every day, and everybody wants to be in New York. And of course, that is the easiest way to kind of get people to know that, hey, we exist. We can give you 3-day work week, or you can earn a lot more if you want to work even harder with us. We do the same in Tokyo, for example. Tokyo is another major mega international hub for knowledge workers, right? So we took over their big chunk of the taxi cab advertisement inventory. We took over a big chunk of their TV advertisement inventory. People watch TV there still. We wanted to let people know that, hey, we're here to empower you and we're here to free you up from all the busy work. And yeah, it's working.
I love it. And definitely, I remember seeing it on the subway. And then I sent it to Emily, the PR. And I said, hey, I just saw Genspark a few days before the interview. This is awesome. So
Look, the product is still the foundation. I'd say that's the foundation. You have to build something that, that is just useful, valuable, making people a lot more money. And then getting the word out is basically the booster, right?
So for all the entrepreneurs out there in the audience, make sure that first your product is really being used and people really looking to use it. That's brilliant. And yeah, Amado, without further ado, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Yossi. And Wen, to confirm, I also saw on the subway at Genspark. Is that
That's
you?
amazing. So
One
it's
of the early
working.
times. Yeah,
Glad to hear that.
100%. So yeah, no, it's deep in the information inroads. And talk about those boosters. I remember earlier in the conversation, you talked about scaling headcount. So looking into scaling awareness versus adoption. At Genspark, how do you convert moments of massive attention into sustained product adoption?
I think it really comes down to the very simple point, Amato, that people are smart. Users are smart. They know if the product is working or not for them. Am I getting something I want instantly, or am I wasting my time burning tokens? And once I get this useful thing, am I making more money off it, or it's just something I can play with and not so useful? Those are all very simple things, but they're fundamental, right? We focus on building a technology that allows our users to constantly get usable, valuable work output that could just help them to make a lot more money. I'll give you a couple of examples. So this gentleman, Scott Williamson, 6th-generation Texan based in Dallas, he helps restaurants to secure bank loans. And in the old times, he would hire people to count the foot traffic, build market analysis. He would hire a CPA firm analyst to build a financial model to tell the bank, here's our payment plan. He would build a presentation himself and all hands on, right? Like he would coordinate this project for weeks, if not months, to basically get prepared to walk into the bank meeting together with his clients for a patio project of a restaurant, maybe to secure $1 million, $2 million of loan, and he gets paid for $30,000-$40,000 of fee, right? That's the model. But out of that, he pays out of his pocket $10,000-$15,000 per project. And it's like taking quite a bit, preparation work, coordination, overhead, management, all that. Now the way he does it, hey, Genspark, here's the name of the restaurant, here's the zip, here's the city, built me the full market analysis that I can use to pitch to a bank. This bank. Hey, Genspark, here are the P&L, the cash flow statements, the balance sheet of this restaurant in the past 3 years. Now, based off the context, same set of context, build me the full financial model to tell the bank that this is exactly how we're going to increase the cash flow of the restaurant. Here's how we're going to pay back the money to the bank timely. And hey, Genspark, build me the full presentation based off all of that, right? So you don't even need to copy and paste things about different tools. It's like all in one place. And then he was still walking to the bank meeting with his clients and secure the loan, get paid. But that's like a day or 2 days of work. He doesn't have to manage any of those overhead anymore, and he doesn't have to pay out of his pocket $10,000-$15,000 just to make the project happen. His margin went way up, and he lowers his fee. He lowers his fee for his clients. His clients are happier. The bank is very impressed with all the work that he has done. Like, wow, what's happening, right? All enhanced work, and he gets a lot more projects. He makes more money. That is the kind of the dynamics that we're seeing across the board from not only just this, right? Banglo Consultant is a very kind of niche kind of business. We see this across the board from marketers, dev shops, big corporations who we work with that used to spend millions of dollars on simple projects like building a prototype, commanding like offshore resources back and forth for 2 months. Now it's all like just bam, a few days. You just go hard with Genspark, maybe not $25 worth of credits. You may need to spend $100, $200, but those projects are $250,000 or more worth, right? So it's that sort of dynamics make people feel like, oh, wow, this result is good. I can use it. I can make more money off it. I'm good. I'll keep paying. That is, yeah, just as simple as that.
No, 100%. And ultimately, that's what the consumer looks for, that reliability, that scale, and the ability to make money. And so going into that, looking at the brand, going into the AI era, earlier we were speaking with Yossi, talked about how decades ago, centuries ago, of course, humans, we had to rely on, human labor, all that intensity. But moving forward, do you think brand is becoming more or less important as AI products become easier to replicate?
I think brand matters, right? Like, why? Because that's how human brains work. We just we believe in brands, we trust brands, and you just wanted to go to the resources that you trust for things, right? So I think brand still matters a lot. Now, to achieve those brands and to sustain those brands, my view is if one is not leveraging the latest and greatest AI, very possibly soon you're going to fall behind, right? I talked to some top executives of some of the advertisement agency companies, like, for example, in Japan. These are the top agencies there. They would work with the Olympics and so on, that level, right? So they basically said, look, when we pitch creative work to our clients, in the old times, it's storyboards, like static picture plus text, and the client would have to connect the dots themselves. Now it's all like, hey, Genspark, build me the full story. Hey, Genspark, break that down frame by frame. Hey, Genspark, get me the full video. And the pitch goes, hey, client, I'll swap that person's face to Brad Pitt if you feel good about this whole video. Like, clients don't have to imagine things. They can just see it. They're like, oh, I want out of these three, I want that. This was not possible before. For you to shoot a prototype video to represent their brand, it used to cost like, I don't know, weeks, if not months at time, and a few $100,000, right? You don't have to do that. And basically what they told me is, look, when if we don't do this, we lose deals. And if we don't catch this wagon and then get on right now, our company may disappear in another 6 months. So to build brand, you need to leverage the greatest and latest AI, such as Genspark, to really get ahead of the others, because the world is moving forward very quickly.
Wonderful answer. And speaking about staying ahead, let's look at building high performance teams. At Genspark, what exactly does great look like? Genspark reportedly ships daily with a team of actually a team less than 50 people, excuse me, with AI writing roughly 80% of the code. What does a high performer look like in this environment?
New updates. Today, we're almost about 70 or so people globally. We have a team in Japan, our global headquarters here in Palo Alto, California. And so there's no management within Genspark, okay? If someone needs management to do the work, to do the job, you're not on this team. So basically, we all know what we're trying to achieve as a company, which is to build out the next generation AI platform that the 1 billion plus knowledge workers, global knowledge workers, could just take advantage of, and then just have a lot more freedom and optionality so that they don't have to do busy work to accomplish business objectives. That's what everybody's striving for. Under that umbrella, everybody knows what they should be working on, and everybody's pushing things forward. Besides the human side, the quality. Basically, what we're seeing is this is just 2 weeks ago. We announced unlimited tokens for each employee. That is, yeah, after we launched Genspark Cloud, we see that, the amount of output or the quality of the output of one person, it's just, there's no comparison between one is empowered by, Genspark versus one is still just trying to do this with their emails. These are not two different people. These are people living in two different eras. So, yeah, we're here today now, but many people are living in different worlds from that perspective. So that's why we basically said, you know what, unlimited tokens. We got to embrace this new way of working, and we have to turn each of us into 10x, 100x superhumans. Otherwise, there's no way to keep up. Imagine if the developers are shipping features like or new products on a daily basis, and the marketing team is not catching up with this. Even like, you got to release the products to the community and to the users, right? With the right message and so on. If the marketing team is still working like the old times, there's no way to keep up with that, right? And then so goes with if you have a full QA team trying to do tests just with different devices, that's not going to do the job. And so goes with the BD team. Like if the product is growing so fast, like customer success folks, if they don't even know what's happening, how are they going to serve clients? Only way to keep up is to leverage AI in every aspect of our work. And so to that, the best performers are not just the people who work the hardest. No. It's the people who can create the leverage, the biggest leverages out of what has been put in place. We're a frontier AI company, at least that's how we see it, through the things that we've built for ourselves, right? And then get a lot more done a lot faster with a lot less time or effort. Those are the high performers.
100%. That's really being forward thinking towards the era of AI, having multidimensional workers who are versatile instead of just in one lane that need to be micromanaged. So that's moving in the right direction, especially as going to the 2030s, 40s, and beyond.
To that amount, just one thing to kind of add on to that is really within Genspark, we see human beings get leveled up from the task kind of focus, kind of a system or a culture or whatever to objective oriented kind of dynamics or paradigm. We're working on different levels now.
1000%. And so then encouraging employees to move at different levels, maximizing productivity and also just maximizing human potential. Looking at coaching and blind spots, you've credited meditation and executive coaching with transforming your leadership. What is one specific blind spot your coach pointed out that changed how you run meetings today?
Oh, that's a deep question, Mano. So to me, I mean, this goes back to what we talked about earlier in this conversation. Human beings are the center of the world. We will continue to be the center of the world. Everything we do or AI would do, in our belief, is going to be around our needs, how we work. And I think the awareness each of us could benefit from by having it is just tremendous. The human awareness. I mentioned meditation earlier in my other interviews because that is one way of getting there by cultivating, by just allowing one to connect themselves and have that awareness of yourself, of what's going. Things are moving fast. It's very easy for us to get lost. Like, oh, this new technology is happening. Oh, someone just built $1 billion company with one person. Oh my God, what am I doing here all day? So it's very easy for us to kind of get into those busyness, not business. So how do we stay centered? How do we stay, keep calm and then keep charging forward with clear goals, sense making goals, and with the right amount of effort at the same time, having fun as human beings? I think being able to have that awareness through methodologies such as meditation and so on is critical for human beings in general and for entrepreneurs, 100%. We're getting into some of the others. So lately, I've been doing experiment. And so you guys know Brian Johnson, right? Like, don't die. I think he has some really good points. Like, if you can't feel good and just feel great yourself, it's hard to perform and it's hard to give energy to the others. I believe in that deeply. And number one thing is actually sleep. So yeah, to his point, I'm trying to become a professional sleeper right now because that's the foundation. On top of that, only if you're physically good and thorough, you can build that awareness and then mentally, and then get to the point where things are actually. So I'd say all in all things focused on your human nature. Just we got to embrace our human nature, respect our body, respect our mind, and constantly remind ourselves we are human beings. AI will work for us, and then stay centered, being aware, and take advantage of all the good technology that's happening to charge forward with your business objective. That's how I would kind of frame it.
Terrific answer. And I like the fact, Wen, that you brought up how humans will remain the center of these problems because ultimately humans make up the market and we're solving human problems. Many times that AI visionaries tend to say humans will also be obsolete, but no, ultimately AI was made by humans for humans. And so understanding human durability and human morale is extremely important.
We don't have to go further than history to find wisdom for the future, right? This movie has played before. It's not like for the first time ever human beings are experiencing technology revolutions. Yeah, sure. While we're in it, it feels like so magnificent, so big. But I mean, 1,000 years ago, we probably all wash our laundry by hands, right? unless you're a feudal lord. But I mean, today, no one does that, and no one complains about, oh, damn, laundry machine took my job. Like, no, that's just not the thing. I would predict in no time, not even like 3-5 years, no one would say, oh, I handcrafted my documents. This is such a proud thing. Like, that's just not right. Like, that's not going to be the world we're living in. It's like, I'm calling on all my agents to do this and to do that and making big deals happen is kind of the world we're going to live in. And no one would say, oh, these agents took my handcrafting documents job.
No, absolutely, you're right. Looking at history, in terms of we went from the horse to the car, does that mean that we won't have feet anymore? Of course not. We went from picking corn to tractors. So those things
Yeah.
evolve with time. And so you brought up also physical vitality. Here's my last question before picking back to Yossi. Speaking on maintaining our physicality, avoiding burnout at scale. You've spoken about nearly burning out in your previous company. How has your leadership style at Genspark evolved to sustain this pace without hitting the same wall?
I think for any first-time founder, there's always that transition, especially if you're training an engineer, you always want things to be in control. And because of that, it's very natural to jump in, to be hands-on with everything and trying to keep things in control. But I think the perspective of being aware of what's happening and then being able to step back and let loose a little bit and just to allow things to develop, people to work and so on, that change would help a lot. So a big chunk of that is also to one of my most recent personal kind of development before. I had this conversation with Eric, my co-founder. He's like, Wen, you know so much about AI. It seems like you test everything, but that is not the whole point. You gotta stop testing and start using AI to let AI do things for you, not just like test them and then know about AI. That's like you being anxious. So there's that change of flip of mind that okay, now before I apply myself onto any specific task, I'm like, Genspark, go. Let's see how far you can go. And then being able to sit back and that kind of hold back from that urge of just jump in. I'm a hustler, right? Like I do everything. So but it's important that being aware of, hey, it's not about get busy and then just do things. It's about being clear-minded what we're trying to achieve and being able to sit back and then let AI do its thing, let your team do its thing, do their thing, and then push forward the score together, right? That's the whole point.
100%. Wen, thank you very much for tuning in and also giving us great answers. Ping back to Yossi.
Yeah, so Wen, just to end it on a lighter note, what is your favorite movie of all time?
Oh God, that's a hard question. Well, I have so many movies that I love. I would say one movie that there's a movie called 12 Monkeys, an old movie. I don't know if it's a sci-fi movie. You've watched it? Yeah, I just loved it. The way that even as early as when that movie was produced, it's like just mind blowing how human creativity and imagination could break out the reality and then see kind of the possibilities. I think the origin or the creativity of that movie is kind of one evidence that shows how is just incredible how superior human creativity and imagination could be. I think with everything that's happening here, my view is we're just getting started. The universe is big. We're just getting started. We haven't even explored the universe yet.
I agree. Those movies are actually, I would say they're usually the best ones in terms of what you could really learn from them. And it's amazing that they've done it back then compared to what we know now. And
Right.
yes, so Wen, thank you so much for joining us today and for all the audience out there. So stay tuned. We have other amazing episodes to show you. The president of Cisco gonna join us and also one of Wen friends, Benny from Fireworks. So it's going to be interesting. So stay tuned. Wen, thank you so much.
Thank you guys for having me. Thank
Thank
you.
you.